Hello and welcome to the Reference Point Podcast After Hours. I'm your host Paolo, and today I'm joined by my co-host Anthony and our average guest Alessandro.
Painfully average. Hello.
Youch! So today we're going to be talking about Re-Animator, the 1980s cult classic movie. So Alessandro, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, so I just finished watching this movie a couple days ago, and it's about this one guy, Herbert West, who in the beginning of the movie, he's shadowing this other doctor, and they together found the substance or created the substance called the reagent, in which they can reanimate a dead corpse past the 12-minute longevity where your brain is considered dead. And with this discovery, he tried it on his initial scientist that he was shadowing, but the experiment failed, so he was sent to America to go to another medical institution. And in this medical institution, he befriends this other guy. I think his name was Kane, if I remember correctly.
Dan Kane.
Dean Kane.
No, not that one.
Oh, not that guy. My bad.
He befriends him and he shows him his experiments. And at first, Kane. There we go. At first, Kane is very reluctant. Obviously, you know, when you get shown that something can be brought back to life, you don't believe it. But he
Just another Sunday.
shut up, Anthony. But first, he tested it on Kane's cat, who he had killed and stuck in a refrigerator. And then
He fridged the cat.
It sounds like a shit post, but it's not.
he did it for real,
He did it for science.
for science. And then Kane went to the medical board at the hospital, and he explained what the experiments were. And the head of the medical board, he disagreed, obviously, and conflict ensued. And Kane ended up getting kicked off of the because he was a resident to become a doctor, and he ended up getting kicked off and his student loans revoked. But in the end, he ended up helping Herbert West by sneaking him into the morgue, and they attempted some more experiments, and at the end of it, the whole morgue ended up being reanimated, and it was a big gory battle.
And there was a lot of naked wrestling in it.
There was a lot of naked wrestling, mostly naked men. Did I miss anything, or?
No, you're pretty much you're good.
Okay.
It sounds like the movie I watched a few days ago.
So I guess let's just start with our thoughts. Like, what did you think? Alessandro, you want to start?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun watching this movie. I thought it was great. As a preface, I am not a horror buff. I don't really like horror movies. I like other movies, like Marvel. But so I came into this not knowing what to expect, but I surprisingly had a lot of fun with it. It was not like any other of the zombie movies that I saw, so I thought it was pretty unique in that aspect, and that's it. I thought it was a lot of fun.
All right, Anthony.
What he said. No, but seriously, I thought it was a really fun movie. Like, it was a great time. Like, not to piggyback off what he said, but me too. I'm not like the biggest horror guy, but it was a fun ride. Like, I love a good 80s classic, a cheese fest, and that's exactly what it was.
I adored this movie. It is just wacky and really fun. Like, you can tell this is like one of those cult movies, and like, if you're getting into horror or you even like horror, you have to just see this movie. There's nothing else like it.
Yeah, I thought it was the gore aspect was pretty good too. I'm a big fan of practical effects instead of VFX or CGI.
But you said you like Marvel movies.
Ooh, I'm getting exposed as a bit of a hypocrite here.
But
Or there'll be plenty of opportunities for that.
all I'm gonna say is that you're telling me this movie from the 80s didn't have much CGI. I don't believe that.
Yeah, they had rotoscoping instead.
Yeah, whatever he said.
No, but for real, I thought the practical effects were pretty solid. I think they overall did a good job with this movie. Anthony, what do you have to say about it besides just retweeting what I say?
Retweeting for real. This movie, it looks like it was filmed on a budget of $7 in a dream, and I gotta say, I think they achieved their dream. It looks great for what it is, and
Yeah, you have to appreciate it for what it is.
exactly. It's like you don't go into a movie like this saying like, yeah, I expect an Oscar caliber picture, like Gladiator from the year 2000. Like, what do you expect?
Or even not like Oscar caliber. Like, I found it wasn't like your typical like horror movie. Almost, it was like kind of bordering, I guess, on horror comedy.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate. I thought that makes it a lot more fun to watch than just sitting in the dark and trying to be scared, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it reminded me more of Evil Dead, which is like, one of the few horror movies I've seen, and one that I always loved. So it reminded me of a movie I love. So how could I be mad?
I'm
Yeah,
so
it's-
out of.
Go
Yeah,
ahead,
sorry, I'm so out of touch. I haven't even seen Evil Dead, so.
Oh wow,
Mm,
ouch! This
Yeah.
guy really is living up to his name of not liking horror.
well, I mean, just to like say, like, it's very much got like Evil Dead vibes in terms of like story, acting. It's very much like B movie level, and that's what I want to say about this movie. And kind of like it applies to a lot of B movies and that sort of style. Is that there's a lot of the craft of filmmaking with it, where it's like cutting corners on effects to achieve a good looking shot. So it's like you can tell when like dead characters like breathing and like stuff like that, but like it's so minor, and the way it's angled, it's always like kind of hiding it. And you could tell there's at least a lot of passion that went into this, especially as like a production. It looks like it was like a blast to be on, and that everyone who worked on it did put their all into it. Like Jeffrey Combs, the guy who played Kane,
Dean Cain.
Everybody just like they gave a good performance. The special effects guys, they really did great. Like the zombie cat.
that was pretty funny.
That was
thing was
fun.
Yeah.
It reminded me of that joke in Community where it's like the cat was just jumping around during it's in the zombie episode of Community, if anyone has seen it. There's like a cat jumping around at a point. It's like, but is somebody throwing that cat?
And that's what it felt like
Yeah.
in the movie, because it was just
Yeah.
It was just like flying everywhere.
oh
But
man.
it's funny that you talk about like the dead guy breathing and whatnot. Like, I feel like that now we live in a society of nitpicking, where it's like if not everything is perfect, oh, the movie's terrible. So it's like if one shot has like a slight imperfection, oh, it's like the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, it's unwatchable. It's like sometimes I just love seeing like goofy errors. Like, who cares? It makes it
Yeah.
fun.
It
I
adds
agree.
charm.
Exactly.
I agree, and I'm gonna be honest. I didn't even notice I don't even know if is there a dead guy that's breathing or
Yeah, I
there
believe
is?
in the first morgue scene before the
The guy has not been reanimated, just to make that clear.
yeah, he hasn't been reanimated yet, and it was the zombie who killed the dean.
Okay, yeah. See, I didn't even notice that. I don't really pay attention to like those minor. Maybe upon a second watching, I would notice it.
You're
But
telling me you weren't looking at the dead man's chest when he was dead on the table? How could you,
no,
bro?
I get bitches.
To be fair, I was looking just because it's like it was a reflex, or it was like, okay, this is a low budget movie.
Your reflex is always to look at another man's chest.
Yes.
I respect it.
You're a bozo.
Yeah, it's just like the reflex of like, oh, it's a low budget horror movie. There's a dead guy covered with a blanket. Let's see if he's actually breathing.
Yeah, can't really say I have that reflex, but
I mean, it's a fair thing to say that you don't have it. It's not something you should be flexing if you do have it. Is all I'm gonna say.
No, it's just something that I found really funny, and I was like, it actually deepened my enjoyment, because it's just like it's a
it
little
gives it that
charm
extra
thing.
charm. Yeah,
Yeah.
Exactly, for
Yeah,
sure.
I agree.
Makes it endearing.
That's a good word for it. Yeah.
But yeah,
Crack out the thesaurus for that one, or
The what?
the thesaurus. You know.
No, we're not talking about Jurassic Park.
Oh no.
all this praise. I thought we were.
All right, so what worked for us for Re-Animator? Alessandro, you want to start?
Yeah, I would love to start. Like I said before, the practical effects, the gore, and especially for me, I'm sure maybe there are other movies similar to this concept, but for me, it was the first time I had seen a zombie movie done this way. I don't even know if I'd classify it as like zombies per se. You know, like I hadn't seen this concept before. I liked all the characters were, well, most of them were surprisingly likable. Most of them.
Fucking creepy professor.
Not so much. That's why I said most.
He would, in today's day and age, he would get canceled.
Yeah, you wouldn't be a doctor anymore.
That's for sure.
Rightfully so.
I think it was pretty well acted for what they were given with. I mean, that's what worked for me. I liked it. I thought the majority of what worked for it was that it was fun. I had a good time watching it, and to me, that's what makes a movie good.
Bah, I mean, when it's a fun time, it's a good time. So that's
Way to just take what I said, Anthony.
yeah,
Again,
But I think I said it in a different order, did I?
Yeah, but is there anything that like worked for you specifically, or
The movie worked for me. No, in reality, it pretty much all worked for me. It all gelled together well. Like, it's one of those movies that I find was like, if one thing is off, like the whole movie might just fall apart. You
Like
know?
someone breathing when they're supposed to be dead, or
Yeah, yeah. You know what? I didn't like that because it kind of ruined the whole movie, took me out of it.
nitpicker. What about you, Paula? What do you think?
I would say the things that worked best for me really would come down to the special effects and the B movie level acting. I would say for sure, like Jeffrey Combs, who plays Herbert West, is the standout star in this. Like, he was absolutely amazing. He was captivating. Like, you can really tell this. He was like this borderline mad scientist, and like he sold it well in a sense that it wasn't cartoonish. But when he would start talking quickly or like monologuing, almost, it's like you can't help but just watch him and listen to him and be captivated.
Okay, I don't know if I'd agree with you when you say it wasn't cartoonish. Like it's pretty cartoony, but it's like I don't say that as a negative. It's definitely the point of it. Like they're aiming for a cartoony performance, but to not call it cartoony, I don't know. There's like a disservice.
I feel like there's like it strikes a good balance between being overly cartoony and
No, I get he's not like Thor and Thor: Love and Thunder. He's just a big joke or whatnot. This is like like he has the right amount of cartoony to him. Like you could tell they're going for the extra cheese in this performance.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
I agree. I think, but I still bought that he was like, you know, like a mad scientist who had just come across a discovery, like a pretty big discovery. I don't know. I think like as cheesy and, you know, corny, I guess, as some of the parts of this movie were, and of course, you know, zombies aren't real. But if
What
I
are you
was
saying, they are.
Okay, so what did I see last night?
Oh no, Anthony, you're getting sleep paralysis again.
No, it's probably just my demons haunting me.
I would say, what were you doing in a graveyard at night?
What was he cooking?
I was just gonna say that I like if I were him in his shoes, I don't know if I'd act any differently. I don't know. I bought that. I bought the performance he was selling.
So you're telling me you'd act like an 80s cartoon madman?
Probably. If I found out the cure to death, maybe. I don't know.
But would you revive a cat?
As a first experiment, maybe.
Fair enough.
I wouldn't kill it first. I would find a dead one and then do it. But it had to naturally.
You know where to find one?
No, but remember, it's like you said, you have to have found one that naturally died and that was within 12 minutes, which is very hard.
Yeah, but I still.
No,
wouldn't
it's
use it.
easy from a certain point of view to find one within 12 minutes.
Look on any major highway.
That's true.
Me, yeah.
He's gonna have a box of cats on the highway and he just let loose.
Anthony, you're
But you know, you gotta. It's all in the name of science. I think it's fine.
I agree. Anything's fine in the name of science.
Dogs are better anyway, so who cares?
True. Actually, so true.
Anyway, so how about some standout scenes for us?
The scenes where the I forget what his title is, but like the head doctor there that
The
got
dean
his
or the creepy one?
the creepy one, the one that got beheaded. He
Ouch.
any scene with him like walking with his head in his hands, I thought that was pretty funny. I don't know, that one stood out to me. Like, or where he's like in a tray and he's commanding his body to do something else, like with a fake head on it. I don't know. I thought that was good.
Well, you know,
Yeah, that's right, because he had the mannequin
Yeah.
head.
I'm not gonna steal this point, but that was a pretty great part of the movie. So
Oh my god,
we're-
again.
We're talking a lot about the cats, so I gotta say the cat's my favorite part. It was funny. We were just laughing all kinds when we watched it. It's so great.
What about you, Paulo?
Okay, so I have a few. So for starters, the intro. I feel like it perfectly set the tone. And it's just wild when you see a professor called Dr. Hans Gruber. And it's just like, you know, the movie starts off in a different language. They're talking and you're like, what am I watching? Like, what is this? And then they walk into the room and then it's like a zombie appears and you're just like, what?
I mean, yeah, the opening's pretty great.
I'm gonna pull an Anthony and say I agree.
Thank you.
I really like the initial morgue stuff. Like, you know, when the zombie wakes up, he's like attacking Kane, attacking
Oh
Herbert.
yeah, and he breaks the door.
Yeah, and
That was cool. That
and
was
it
cool.
crushes the Dean.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
So another scene that stood out to me was with the head doctor when he gets beheaded. That was absolutely a fun scene, and it's actually pretty much synonymous with Herbert West and the Re-Animator show, where it's the Blu-ray cover, it's like the poster, it's the head in the tray, and Herbert West holding the syringe and like looking at it and talking to it. I love the performance of the head doctor, who's a head, and I loved Herbert West's performance. And then like he gets attacked by the headless body. It's really fun.
Also, now we're talking about stuff we liked. I probably should mention this before, so I'll mention it now. The score to this movie is actually really good. Like, I love that the opening titles are really, really good, and even the end titles are great. It's it was a great like '80s classic score. Sound like Alfred Hitchcock's American Psycho. No, that was great.
American Psycho?
Did I say American Psycho?
Yeah.
Like
Freudian
that movie's
slip.
always on my mind. I'm sorry, Freudian slip for real. I meant Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho.
Are you on that Patrick Bateman Sigma male grind?
It even has a watermark.
Yeah, no, the music was actually phenomenal. Like, it was stuck in my head for at least a few days after.
Like, I mean, if you haven't seen this movie, like, just go put on the opening titles of Re-Animator, the score. Just give it a quick listen. It's a great track. It's so good.
Like, if you're not vibing to it, something's wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, I guess something's wrong with me. I usually don't pay attention to scores that hard in a movie.
I'm not sure who the composer was, but he was cooking. He was cooking.
What
was he cooking?
Does he know?
That score actually kind of reminds me of a lot of like, there's like, you guys are, it's gonna go completely over your heads, but like,
American Psycho.
no, a lot of like Italian horror and Fulci movies, where it's like, it's a very upbeat, funky kind of thing. With Italian horror, they use a lot of disco, people getting their like guts ripped out, eyes popped, and it's like disco music. And this, it's like you got that like zombie action, and it's just like upbeat strings, like upbeat Psycho basically. And it was also very similar to Brain Dead, if you remember the soundtrack.
I don't. I'm sorry.
We saw that movie like 2018, 2019. You can't ask me to remember that.
Yeah, I don't remember the.
Okay, because I can remember it, and it's like it's got similar like cues with the strings and the like high pitched noise. Play that, then play Fulci music, then play like the Brain Dead soundtrack, and you're gonna see a lot of similarities.
I feel like we're giving people a lot of instructions on what to listen to. Just put on the Re-Animator track, and that's it.
After this, even better, just watch Re-Animator.
That
Yeah,
works too.
true.
Well,
Watch Re-Animator.
we probably should have given a spoiler warning.
I mean, if you're watching this, it's most likely you've probably seen
Sorry
it.
for spoiling a movie from the 80s. My bad.
And I would say the final thing that really worked for me was the ending. I absolutely adored it. With the dean's daughter
Dying.
yeah. And then Dan is like, he's holding the reagent, and he's like, what do I do? And you're left there sitting there like, is he gonna do it? He's gonna do it. He's gonna do it. And that tension, they build and build and build until the screen cuts to black. Then you hear Megan scream because she's got reanimated, and it was just like, this is a 10 out of 10.
Speaking of things that worked, the ending, from what I remember, it didn't cut exactly to black. It cut to black, but you saw the green in the syringe go down as he's pressing it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you hear her scream.
Okay, yeah.
But I thought that, I mean, I think that makes it better, actually. I really like that aspect, too. I thought the ending was a pretty solid conclusion to the movie. Like, I buy that that's what he would do. I buy that that's how it would end. So I agree. I think it was a good ending. Good call.
What if I told you there's 2 more movies?
I wouldn't believe you because when I Googled it, I didn't see any other movies.
Really?
Yeah.
No, but
Yeah.
there actually is.
Yeah, there's
Actually-
Re-Animator 2, Bride of Re-Animator. And number 3, I think it's called Beyond Re-Animator or Behind the Re-Animator, something like that. I've heard the second one's good. I haven't heard anything about the third one.
I could do without watching the second and third one. I thought this was a pretty like good contained movie within itself.
Yeah.
I don't know if I need to see a sequel, but if it's there, maybe I'll watch it. I don't know.
Like for me, I can never be satisfied, so I'm gonna watch 2 and 3. But like, I genuinely agree. It's a very well self-contained flick. Like it works from start to end, and it could literally just exist as itself, and it's fine.
Yeah,
It doesn't
like,
need
they
I
don't-
mean,
anything.
like,
They don't have to tease anything post credits or whatever to continue
oh, I
the
wish they
story.
did. It would have made it so much better. No, but for real, it's like I kind of agree. I don't have to see a sequel for this. Like this, like Herbert West kind of does die at the end. It's like, and I like the, I don't want to say cliffhanger ending, but it's like you know what I mean. It's like it's not something I need to see a follow up to. It's like a great ending, the way to end it. I don't need to see what, like how that plays out. And seeing Herbert West on the poster again, it's like, oh, okay, I guess he did make it through this one. Like, yeah, I know they kind of did did he survive, did he not in this movie? But reality is he pretty much did die. The point is he's supposed to die. But it's like, it's kind of a cop-out, I find, to bring him back, you know?
For me, I find that it was perfectly ambiguous.
I'm not saying it's like out of arm's reach, saying that like, oh no, there's no way, sir, I have no way. It's like it just feels like a cop out to me. That's the reality.
That's fair. That's fair. And I guess now that we're getting a little negative, what are things that didn't work for you?
I think that for me specifically, I can't remember the exact scenes.
No post-credit scene. That's what it was.
Yeah.
No post-credit scene teasing Re-Animator and Skippy McDippy.
Crossover.
And the bride of Re-Animator.
I think for me, some of the... I can't remember exactly which scenes, but I know that sometimes when I was watching it, some of the jokes or the scenes like fell flat. I don't know if it's maybe because it aged poorly or if it just didn't resonate with me.
Back in the 80s, that was a riot of a joke. Now it falls flat.
Maybe you're just humorless.
Maybe. I don't know.
I think he's pretty funny. I don't know.
Thank you, Anthony.
No problem.
It's actually really nice. How are you still single?
Yo, I don't know. You asking me?
See, dick riding.
Youch!
I thought that the one of the scenes that was kind of like, this didn't really need to be there was when the headless doctor was like molesting that girl.
Yeah,
on the table.
that was uncomfortable. I don't need to see that stuff.
That was kind of gratuitous. I don't know. It was
Mm-hmm.
kind of unnecessary.
it felt like it went too far. Like there was a line where it would have worked, but then it went beyond it.
Yeah.
They could have cut away from it. The idea was already in my head. I don't need to see that.
Right.
You know, this is
Like as wacky as it was for the guy to put his his decapitated head between her legs, like as like, you know, as it is, and like on paper it sounds wacky. It kind of just leaves you a little uncomfortable.
Yeah. Or maybe they could have like cut away and like implied that what happened instead of like lingering on it for it was a solid like 5 minutes of just straight like molesting. I don't know. It was weird.
I don't know if it's because we saw the extended cut or something. Maybe in the theatrical it's cut down a bit, but
Yeah, it might have been because I think this version's technically unrated or rated X.
Well, besides that, I think for me, the rest of the movie was fine. I think that was one of my only main gripes with the movie or uncomfortable scenes.
Look, here's the thing with me, like I'm a pretty forgiving guy, so it's like I'm gonna remember a lot more of the good stuff than the bad stuff. So if it's a movie that I like overall, I'm gonna remember only the good stuff. If it's a movie that I don't really like, I'm gonna start like nitpicking so much of it. So this movie, since I liked it, it's like I can't really nitpick much. I feel.
Yeah, that's fair.
You, Paulo, what did you not like about it?
For me, genuinely was the molesting stuff. It was just like,
Wow.
like I get
Now's the guy who steals all the points.
no, like I get that. Like you want to portray this guy as creepy and like the bad guy. You know, I'm not one to say no, you shouldn't write about this or whatever. But I feel like it's like, as you said, it's gratuitous where it's like it lingered on it too much. You could have, like him putting her on the table, stripping her down, and then strapping her down, and then approaching her would have probably sold it enough.
Yeah,
I agree.
And that's pretty much it for me.
Some of the I was scrolling through like IMDb and Paulo's favorite website, Rotten Tomatoes. And I was coming across, I just wanted to see what the negative reviews were. And a lot of it stemmed from people saying that it was too like schlocky or cheesy or corny. It was too much of a generic zombie movie that all the tropes have been done before. And the acting was bad. Those were the three like common themes.
These reviews from the 80s or reviews from like last night?
Not last night, but recent.
All I'm gonna say is that is some baboon mentality.
Yeah, that is.
Like what the f***? It's schlocky, it's this. It's like that's kind of the point. That's like the whole genre of B movie.
People don't understand the meaning of camp nowadays, and just based off what people said of Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, people just don't know what camp is anymore. Everything has to be so serious. Nothing can try anything new. It's like, come on.
I agree.
I find it weird that it's like nobody can look at this and just not recognize what it is, like the tropes of the genre, especially for people who are like self-proclaimed cinephiles or film critics. It's like, how can you watch what is essentially a cult classic, a B movie, and be like, oh, it's so schlocky, it's so this, when that's part of the point, that's part of the charm.
It comes from probably very pretentious people that say things like that. I would have to mostly disagree. Again, I'm not the biggest horror fan, but I've seen a couple like zombie movies and TV shows and stuff, and the premise is always, without a doubt, like some mysterious virus, some, you know, pandemic that killed the world. The zombies are like dumb and have no brains, and they just, you know, go around and like endlessly attack people and aimlessly attack people. But I found this one was not that typical zombie movie. And for someone to say like, oh, this was just like any other zombie movie and it was very it followed all the same tropes and beats, and I don't agree. I think that it was pretty unique in the aspect that it was actually about a guy who came up with a reagent, which is not really the right word for it. That's a chemistry word, but we're not going to get there.
Yeah.
I mean, Mr. Chemistry over here.
Yeah, look at the guy from Breaking Bad.
My name is
Walter.
No, but for real though, I found it was a very different portrayal of like zombies, if you even want to call them that. I don't know. I liked it. I liked that aspect of it. I thought it was very unique, and I had a lot of fun watching it. And it was not, you know, it wasn't like any other zombie movie I watch or whatever. It's always tense and sometimes very like dreary or dull, but this one was fun. I had a good time watching it.
But speaking of like tropes, it's like this movie came out in the 80s. It's like were the tropes really like established back then, like that hard?
They were, but like I would genuinely say, like depending on when it came out, because I'm not sure when in the 80s it came out, I would probably say it probably invented a few.
That's what I'm saying. Like, isn't this movie kind of like a pioneer of some of these tropes and whatnot? Like,
Most likely.
To say it follows to tropes is like, I feel like that's the point of it. Like, it's not trying to like do something incredibly new, incredibly like insanely different, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys watch the Resident Evil movies?
Which one?
So long ago.
Any of them?
Yeah.
Did you like them?
No.
Okay, because keep in mind that some of these comments were the same people who were saying, well, my favorite movie was like Resident Evil Apocalypse. Is that
People like those.
Yeah, they would choose that over this. So
Okay, baboon mentality.
yeah, literal baboon
honest
mentality.
to God, I didn't even know people liked those movies. I thought they were just universally hated because those movies are bad.
I have not seen any of those movies, so I can't comment. But all I'm saying is those are the same people who are like giving this movie flack for, you know, unoriginality or whatever.
With Resident Evil, the first one is genuinely solid. Like, it's not amazing, but it's not horrible.
I remember
it
being okay, the first one.
It just goes like kind of downhill from there, especially when they introduce like Nemesis and then when it becomes basically global pandemic instead of just like contained. Because that's the whole thing with Resident Evil. It was that it's very contained. The story's a contained story, and like at the end of it, it gets resolved basically with like a cure or like a nuclear bomb. But those movies, they just went too far with it, and it just kind of went from Resident Evil to generic zombie.
From what I remember, they made too many of them also.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the other main points that kept coming up in these negative reviews was that the main characters are like always making dumb decisions or decisions that make no sense, and I'm like, I don't know, if I was in that position, would I act any differently? I don't know. Like, it's not.
Do you have like an example of a dumb decision? Because I feel like
Well, no, they didn't leave an example.
Yeah,
of course,
not.
but
Yeah, because look, what do they know? They're film critics.
I was just saying, because I found like there was no real like dumb decision that like stood out to me. Like when you do something dumb, it's like, yeah, I'll stand out, but nothing. Like even at the end, reviving his dead girlfriend, like, you blame the guy. I mean, you know.
yeah, like, do you blame him? I don't. Or if you were, you know, Herbert West, would you react any differently if you were him and you were on a brink of like an exceptional discovery that everyone else shuns you for? Or Kane, when they revoke your medical license for bringing this to light? I don't know if I'd act any differently than these guys.
Or even the creepy like head doctor who wanted to steal that.
Yeah,
like,
and he wanted the glory all for himself.
All the decisions make sense.
Well, I mean, him I could blame a little bit.
What I think it comes down to is people are watching it as an audience, so they see everything play out. They already know, oh, it's going to go so bad. You know, I guess what you can chalk it up to is like also people overthinking modern sensibilities, where it's like, oh yeah, you know, if I were in this position, I wouldn't do it because, you know, X movies showed why it's a bad idea. But then it's like, one, if you were in there, try to put yourself in their shoes. It's like Herbert West made the discovery of the millennium. Somebody wants to steal it. The guy wants to revive the love of his life. It's like all these decisions make sense.
Yeah, and not only does he want to revive the love of his life, he just saw like her dad dying. Like everyone around him was dying. You know, like everyone he knew basically or cared about, including his cat.
And her father was kind of getting back to normal too, to a degree. Even though he got lobotomized, it's like he was much smarter somehow.
I don't know if I'd say smarter. I think it was more of probably an emotional attachment to his daughter, or like he recognized that it was his daughter, so he like had the instinct to protect her, kind of.
Yeah.
Towards the end, because at least the way they were explaining it in the movie was that they, if I'm not mistaken, after they become reanimated, they revert back to more of their like primal instincts, kind of. So I think it was, I don't know if he was getting smarter per se. It was just more of a like, oh, he like put it together that was his daughter and he like should protect her type of thing.
Okay, yeah, that works better. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, but I'm done talking about other people's opinions. People online basically always suck, so who cares?
Yeah, like dude,
Retweet.
there's so many stupid takes out there.
Exactly.
Especially when it's like people who are like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like not
People-
self-aware.
People who think they're smarter than they actually are, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and that's a good place to wrap up.
Exactly.
So Re-Animator, honest to God, I think that if you haven't seen this movie, you have to see it. Such a great time. You are not going to regret it. And October, it's definitely worth watching.
For sure. For sure.
I just want to, can I add one more thing or no?
Go for it.
I think, okay, as enthusiastic and soy as you are about it, Paulo, I think there's a specific audience for this, because there's definitely people that will not like it. I had a great time. I had a blast watching it, but I know that they're like, I would not firmly recommend it to every single person.
What? I said that the other day. I said that if you don't like horror and you don't like campiness, you're not going to like this movie.
Right, exactly. If you like that schlock from the 80s and gory effects and everything, watch it. I think it's a must watch for that type of person. Yeah. But if you're like not into that at all, forget it.
You're going to end up sounding like the people online,
Okay, fair. So I guess, yeah, then like if you're into horror, if you're into like really fun special effects, 80s flicks, watch it.
Retweet.
Watch it.
And that's the show. So don't forget to subscribe to OARTV. Make sure to hit the bell icon so you get notifications for the next Ref Point or Ref Point After Hours episodes. Follow us on social media at Ref Point Podcast. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok.
Just about everything.
And if you're listening on Spotify or any other podcast platform, make sure to share the audio. I don't know what we do with Spotify.
Don't look at me. I don't know.
You listen to us on Spotify.
You listen to it, and that's it.
Yeah, but I don't share it. I just listen to it.
You can download it. You can share it. You tell a friend about us. We won't mind. I won't mind.
Yeah, just do something with Spotify. And don't forget, leave a comment down below. What did you think of Re-Animator? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? Let us know.
And guys, don't forget to support your local comic book stores.